It is a huge, huge honor for me to be interviewing today my favorite hygienist, Stephanie Dominguez from New Mexico. And Stephanie, so many dentists I know just think you're a rock star. My best friend from dental school, no doubt, was Craig Steichen, who's in your backyard. You know Craig.
Yes.
Craig and I both agree that you're probably the most energetic, knowledgeable hygienist in the world. And the reason it is because you were a dental assistant. You started off as a dental assistant. And then you were a hygienist for 6 or 7 years. Then you decided to go into corporate and you worked for Patterson, which is a really unique experience because the reps, the reason the reps are never going to go away and people aren't going to buy all their supplies online is because you get to see offices, you get to see a variety of offices, and you get to see what are the ones that are more successful. And by success, I don't just mean money. I mean, they're happy. They're not getting beat up by insurance. They got, their staff's happy. They're making money. They're feeding their families. They're living a nice life, as opposed to the ones that are depressed, burned out, want to quit, commit suicide. You know best practices and worst practices. And then now you went into dental implants, which is probably the fastest growing. I mean, the hot spot of dentistry is switching from a 3-unit bridge to an implant. And you're with OCO Biomedical Dental Implants, which is my buddy Chuck Schlesinger. They're right out of Albuquerque, right?
Absolutely. Actually, I'm sitting in his office right now.
And the reason I hate Albuquerque is because when I went to Catholic school, I never got that one right on a spelling test. If they put Albuquerque on there, I eventually learned Connecticut because I just remembered you spell connect, cut. But there were no tricks to spell Albuquerque. And I'm 53 and I still can't spell it. I'm not even going to try to spell it. But
the masses, it's okay.
It's what?
I said you're one of the masses.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can spell Albuquerque. Do people in Albuquerque even know how to spell Albuquerque?
Not all.
So I want to start with why did you even start in dentistry? Why did you become a dental assistant?
Oh, goodness. Well, I've basically been in dentistry my whole life. My father's a dentist.
Oh, I never knew that.
So I grew up in a small town in New Mexico, and the first job technically that I ever had in dentistry was pulling weeds in front of his office. He realized I really sucked at landscape and finally decided to let me in.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So does he still practice?
He does. He does here in Rio Rancho, New Mexico.
Say the name of the city.
In Rio Rancho, it's a suburb of Albuquerque.
And that's where you were born and raised?
Actually, I was born in Grants, New Mexico, which is about 75 miles west of Albuquerque. So he moved.
He moved?
As soon as I graduated high school and actually went from private practice to corporate dentistry in 1999.
What are the big corporate chains?
Yeah, well, here it's Perfect Teeth here in Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico.
And did he do that just because he got tired of running a business and just wanted to go in there and do his dentistry 8 to 5?
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to golf.
Yeah.
And go home.
And I love golf. I think it's the greatest thing ever for like 3 holes. But after you've had 3 beers, 3 hot dogs, 3 holes, I mean, I'm done. And,
I just drive. That's it.
You just drive the golf cart?
Yeah.
And my dad, who passed away 16 years ago, his best friend never forgave him for turning a corner too sharp on a golf cart, and his best friend fell out. The beer bottle, I think, broke one of his teeth, and he it was a huge disaster when my dad was drinking and driving a golf cart. But hey, I want to start off with let's just start with, I mean, there's so many things we start with, but you grew up in dentistry, you start off pulling weeds, dental assisting, hygiene, but what I really want to capture today is what do you think of all the offices that you've called on, from when you were working at Patterson to now implant rep? What do you think the guys like me and Steichen are doing more often than the guys that just never get it going do less? I mean, have you ever thought of it like that? I mean, did you ever walk in the practices and just think, man, if this dentist was doing what these other 3 did, and the dentists that aren't getting it done, they always blame it on Obama and the economy and China and all these things like that. And then people like you think, dude, there's a dentist across the street kicking it out of the ballpark. It's not Obama. Maybe it's the man in the mirror.
Yeah, and there's several different things. I mean, this is a huge issue. It's not just any one thing that somebody's doing, you know what I mean? But I think some of the least successful practices I've seen where the doctor is miserable, one, I see them doing their own hygiene, which to me nowadays just seems very crazy to see a dentist still not having a hygiene department.
What percent of the dentists do you think still do their own hygiene?
Gosh, I probably from what I've seen, at least like 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're saving money, of course. You know they're saving money. They tell me, I'm
Right.
saving money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing $1,000 crown when you could be saving money doing your own hygiene.
Right. So I mean, I think there are several things. One is the staff. They have no control over their staff. I think staff is everything when it comes to a successful dental office. And what I've seen in the most successful offices are staff that have been there for over 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years with that doctor. And that says a lot about the office, the culture, the relationship, and everybody's just happier. You see these staffs that have high turnover, nobody's happy, the staff rolls the dentist. It doesn't make for a good working environment.
Well, I completely agree. That's the main thing, and that's exactly what no dentist wants to listen to. Whenever you start talking about staff or anything like that, they go, "That's the soft stuff." I don't want to hear about that. Which burr do you use when you prep a crown? Is that some? So they don't want to hear about it, and that's probably why it's a huge problem. But you said it. You nailed it a couple times. Staff turnover is a red flag, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so what do you think that stopping staff turnover and keeping people 10, 20, 30, 40 years, what do you think's going on in that office as opposed to the high staff turnover and everyone's miserable?
Well, I mean, I think in the offices that have a high staff turnover, there's the doctor is strictly focused probably on dentistry, which the dentistry part of it is a very minimal to the whole business. You know what I mean? So like training them, taking care of them, paying them well, making sure they're busy. There's so many things that can go into making your staff happy and just being a leader. And I think so many dentists who have these high staff turnovers don't need to invest in their leadership skills and learning how to be a good leader for their team.
So do you think that's something a person is hardwired at birth? They're just not going to be a people person leader? I guess the more pointed, have you ever seen anybody change? Have you ever seen anybody who had staff turnover, poor leadership, and then focused on it and 2 or 3 or 5 years later changed?
Yes. I mean, I think that to an extent there's inherent built-in, born-in leadership ability that people have, but I don't think it's anything that you can't learn and fine tune for your business. There's a lot of people who do it and do it very successfully, but you also see ones who they just don't have it. And I think that's why corporate dentistry is so popular and booming nowadays with these dentists, because it's a good place for people that don't have those leadership qualities or abilities to go and still have a successful practice, you know what I mean, but not have to deal with all of those other issues.
Absolutely. And you know what? And I feel sorry for corporate dentistry because they get such a bad rap. But back in my day, if you said, well, I'm just going to join the Navy, I don't want to deal with rent and mortgage and staff. I don't want to deal with any of that crap. I'm going to join the Navy and I'm going to make a career in the Navy. Everybody would salute them and say, well, that is so respectful, serving your country, working for the Navy. And now you take out the word Navy and say Heartland Dental Care, and they're like, what are you, a communist? You know what I mean? I mean, so I don't get it. So
I'm not an anti-corporate dentistry person. I think it definitely serves its purpose, and I think there's a lot of defensiveness about it from the general private practitioner, and that's only because it's making it more competitive.
Exactly. When you look at Congress, the United States Congress is basically a house of bribery, and every company has been trying to get. I mean, look, when we grew up, foreign companies couldn't even sell cars in America, and it took forever to let in Japan and Germany, which totally made American cars better. Right now, look at I've lectured in 50 countries. The worst airline service in the world is the United States of America because they don't let any foreign carriers fly domestic.
Yeah.
So
I
like
agree.
a first class flight in America, Americans don't even know what first class is. A first class flight means your chair slightly wider and leans back 3 degrees. Go fly Singapore. The chair is flattens out to a bed. You have your own television. You
I like
when
Lufthansa. That's a good airline.
Oh yeah, I mean, so why does Americans have shitty airlines and doesn't even know what first class is? Because the pilots have gone to the government and no foreign airlines can fly domestic. So that's exactly the 1,000 years from now, people won't want competition, and when they go to vote, they're going to vote for whoever says you don't have to pay taxes and will give me everything for free. So
Yeah.
that's just the human condition. So there's a place for corporate, especially in a place for corporate where there's so many dentists who are married to a dentist, but
Right.
want to have 2 or 3 kids, and they want to be a professional doctor, but they only want to do it 32 hours a week. They don't want to. They don't want
Right.
to eat, live, and breathe a dental office while they're trying to take care of 3 kids and
Yeah,
a
you see how
spouse.
many women are now graduating from dental schools are almost outnumbering the men. I mean, it's bound to happen.
Hmm. And that's. I'm glad I got out when I did because I could never compete with dentists that look like you. They would come and look at me and say, "My God, I'm going to go to that Stephanie across the street." So what? Okay, so staff turnover. Have you seen any courses, any programs, anybody out there that can, if a dentist has got staff turnover? Because here's the deal. I mean, you see it on Dental Town. A lot of them hate their staff. A lot of them, they'll get on Dental Town and say, "My hygienist just came in my office and said this." It's like, dude, why are you posting on? It's like going. It's like when you have a
Right.
family problem, do you go on the Jerry Springer show? Our family, we
No.
don't need to fly to the Jerry Springer show. We'll just talk about it in our front room.
Yeah.
And so have you seen anything help a dentist with staff turnover or
Well, I mean, I think what dentists don't do well enough when they're struggling is one, admit it and ask for help. There are so many, I've listened to so many of your podcasts where the really successful dentists have turned their practices around because they've gone to consultants, right? However, whomever that may be, bring somebody in to help you evaluate staff issues, and try and get them motivated. That will weed out the ones who really aren't committed to your practice anyway and keep the ones who are and hopefully move them in a better direction.
have you seen any hot who's the best dental consultants that you see in your backyard in New Mexico? Any of them come to mind?
No, not particular. There's so many consultants out there. There's really good ones. Who we work with OCO Biomedical, who I like the way that they work is progressive dental marketing. They're more of a marketing company, but what they do is they focus on the growth of staff. They really, really focus on training the staff and evaluate what they're doing and getting them motivated. And it's really effective.
Where are they headquartered out of?
They're in Clearwater, Florida.
Clearwater, Florida. That's where Bill Strupp is.
Really?
Yeah. So who owns that? Is it a dentist, hygienist?
It's his name is Bart. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I know his father's a dentist, and he started this business after sort of.
Can you hook us up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, email him and CC me, Howard at dentaltown.com. Tell him I want to get him on here.
Yeah, they'd be a great interview.
Yeah, let's
Right.
do that. Okay, and so you said staff turnover, and we'll get this Bart guy from Progressive Dental. He's got to be a good guy if his dad's a dentist. I tell my 4 kids that every day.
That's what my dad tells me too.
and the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, his dad's Ed. He's a dentist. The greatest people had a father that was a dentist. What other things do you see in the successful offices?
I see the more successful offices making their offices a dental home, right? Offering more services. Patients don't necessarily like going somewhere else for things. They don't care if you're not as qualified as the oral surgeon down the road. They would rather have you do it, and they trust you more. So expanded services, I think, is huge.
And gosh, and what I would like to expand them in is if I sell a bottle of water for $1 and this lid is the 10% profit, the hardest way to make a dime is to make a whole nother bottle of water and then to sell it and collect the money. The easiest way to make another dime is to raise the price of this $1 bottle of water to $1.10. So I've raised my price 10%. I've doubled my profit, and the insurance companies are just have held the the price increases on cleaning, exams, and fillings,
Right.
and where they have no control and they're not doing anything is implants. And that's where you are. I mean, some dentists will sit there and they'll buy an implant for a couple hundred and they'll sell it for 1,000, and then after a while they're like, oh, I think I'll just charge 1,500, and
Right.
and that extra 500 they were already making 200 or 300. Now they're making, some of these implant margins are 50-60%.
Right. And it gives the doctor so much more flexibility. What I've seen is because, with the implants on like a couple $100s, what doctors are doing now, instead of having trouble selling these huge price tag cases, they have the flexibility to reduce their cost to the patients, and they're getting a lot more treatment accepted. And they're still making a huge margin on it.
And I'm in Phoenix. I'm not in Scottsdale. I'm not in Paradise Valley. I'm down here in
I've been to your
Walmart.
office.
Yeah, and you've been to my home even. You've met
I
my
have.
boys. Yeah, and the thing about how we do full mouth treatment is, well, why don't we place, you got a lower partial. Why don't we place one implant in the lower right, and we'll just leave it under your partial, and then maybe next year we'll put another one back there.
Right.
And then the next year we could either put a 3-unit bridge on those 2 implants or start, so we can stage them out. So a lot of times when someone needs 6 implants, we can do it one at a time. We'll do it over 6 years. I mean, I've been doing this 28 years, and there's patients that took 5, 6, 10 years to do their whole treatment plan.
Right. And I think another thing is that kind of goes along with that is financing, offering options to your patients to be able to finance these types of procedures. I mean, you see it in orthodontics all the time. I use my daughter's orthodontist as an example because I think they have the tightest ship I've ever seen in dentistry, and they have the whole picture, and they do a lot of in-house financing, and it works out great.
Well, what I don't understand, I don't know if you're old enough to remember Orthodontic Centers of America, or did you ever remember that when you were a kid?
I don't.
Yeah. Well, that was in 87. How old were you in 87?
I was 6 years old.
You were 6 years old in
I was.
87? Okay. So just make me feel like your
Pulling
grandpa
weeds out
now.
in front of dental offices.
What's that?
Said pulling weeds out in front of dental offices.
My gosh. But basically the lesson of Orthodontic Centers of America, it never even, that no one even, they didn't even learn the lesson at that day. And here it is. I still can't believe they never figured out the lesson. Basically, just in a nutshell, if I say to you, what's the most famous sewing machine in the world?
Gosh, I'm the worst woman on the planet because I wouldn't know.
Well, name any sewing machine in the world. You can't name a single sewing machine?
I can't name a single sewing machine.
Singer.
Singer.
Have you ever heard of that?
I have.
And why is Singer the most popular sewing machine in the world? There were a gazillion sewing machines because everybody worked in textiles. But Singer was the first one who realized, he thought, okay, these Irish people washing up on the shore, he goes, they can't get a job in a textile unless they have a sewing machine. And a sewing machine's $100. They don't have $100. But if they get a job, it's $1 a week. So he was the first one to finance his sewing machine. So he said, hey, you come give me $1, a week or whatever, and I'll give you a sewing machine. You pay me $1 a week for 2 years or whatever. So every Irish immigrant would run and get a Singer sewing machine. And so he just took over the entire market because he had installment credit. Right. The other one was Henry Ford. Henry Ford had the Model T, and everybody remembers that. And it was $668, but no one remembers the story of why he had to close that plant down and General Motors took over, because General Motors took over with installment credit. And Orthodontic Centers of America was the only company ever in dentistry to make the New York Stock Exchange with $1 billion valuation, because this is what Lazarus figured out. When you buy a car, you need to give GM the money because they had to buy 30,000 parts and assemble it, and their costs. But when you do orthodontics, the cost is incurred when you come in every month for 24 months. So why the hell you need $1,500 down, and why are you financing these appointments that never take place? Imagine you went to get your nails done, and the little Vietnamese girl said, oh, well, I'll sell you a 2-year package. It'll be $2,000. I need $500 down. I'll finance the remaining $1,500 at 9%. You're like, what? You haven't incurred any cost yet. Right. So what he did is he said, 0% interest, 0% financing, $249 a month. Everyone's approved. for 30 months. And you come in, give them 249, they take the records. You come back next month, give them 249, they put on the spacers. And he financed the whole thing because he said, I'm not financing anything. That's why it's 0% interest. That's why it's 0% down. I mean, it just, and orthodontists would, or they put up economic barriers and say, oh yeah, your daughter needs ortho, but we're going to need 1,800 down. And then we're going to finance this 2-year thing, which we have no cost until you come in and we pay the rent, mortgage, equipment bill, that computer insurance, you know, all that stuff. So yeah, financing is huge. So who's your favorite financer?
Well, I've actually always really liked Care Credit for patient financing. It seems that it was a very, very simplified process. But of course, around 2008, you know, it was getting harder and harder for people to be approved. I like seeing different options. I'm not opposed to in-house, maybe not call it financing, but payment installments, something like that.
Well, 2008 was that was in 1929. That was a full-blown depression. In 29, when the same thing happened, the newly formed Fed, which was like formed in 1917, and so they were young, they didn't know much about economics. They tried to save the dollar.
Right.
And so they lost a quarter of the banks, and we had a third unemployment from 32 to 36. 2008 was a full-blown depression. But at that time, our Fed chairman, who got a PhD from MIT in the Great Depression, said, screw the US dollar, we're going to do the opposite. And he printed $6 trillion and recapitalized the banks. So yeah, so 2008 was a depression with liquidity.
Right.
But now we're back to 2015. I noticed Care Credit, first they were Care Credit, then they got sold to GE, then now GE, didn't they spin them off and doesn't someone else own them?
I don't know. I kind of try and stay out of all of that.
Yeah. So, but I think Care Credit's back. There's some other ones. So, okay. So,
Care Credit around.
So reduce staff turnover, a dental home with more expanded procedures, patient financing, so you can be General Motors instead of Ford, and Singer instead of everyone else, and Orthodontic Centers of America instead of asking for 1,500 down. What else?
Right. I think patient engagement and referrals, you know, there's so much marketing that you can do even internally without having to go to a marketing company to help. I mean, make referral incentives for your patients. Everybody has, well, close to everybody hopefully now has electronic software that they run all this information through. There's so much information, let's say Dentrix or EagleSoft, that can be extracted from that to do internal marketing to your patients. Referral incentives. I think referrals are huge. I do that in my business now. I get majority of my business off of referrals. I don't think people capitalize on, you know, their happy patients enough.
And that is directly tied to long-term staff. I mean, I have patients calling the office wanting to talk to Jan, and they'll talk to Jan. Why are you talking to Jan? Well, my mom and dad went to you for 15 years, and I remember going in there when I was 8, and I wanted to ask you about this or that. And I mean, they're calling the office to talk to Jan,
right?
And I'm the dentist, and they don't care. They remember Jan. And in fact, during 2008, when about 75 dental offices in Phoenix went bankrupt, and we just kept having all these new patient people saying, "Where are you getting all your new patients?" I said, most of them are the kids from my older patients.
Right.
You know, they're moving out of Phoenix or moving back in, moving back home. So yeah, long-term staff. And the other thing, Steph, when you talk to every dental consultant, when they come into an office, they're going to be in there like for a week. Day one is just, they want to see what's going on.
Right.
100% of all my dental consultant friends say 100% of all the offices during that first day, they never saw anyone ask a patient for a referral.
No. Yeah. It's amazing how much that doesn't happen and how easy it is to kind of forget about it, you know what I mean? And then the dentist isn't able to monitor, nothing's confronted, you know, you have to be asking for referrals and engaging your patients. And honestly, it doesn't, as this is with the staff retention, you want to have a good staff because, like you said, you are the dentist and the patients would rather talk to Jan, right? So the minute you leave the room, they're asking your assistant, they're asking your hygienist, everybody else what they should do. So, I mean, staff is just so critical.
And Stephanie, I know women, there's two things you never ask a woman, that's her age or weight. Do you care if I ask your age?
I'm 34.
Because what I want to ask you, I'm 53. So what I wanted to ask you is, asking patients for referrals. The same goes with asking them to write a Yelp review or a Google Plus review. But I want to talk about that because when I'm sitting at a bar with a bunch of dentists 50 to 60, we've never looked at Yelp. We've never read a review. We just don't get it. But it seems like people that are 34 and under look at that more. Do you personally ever look at Yelp reviews when you go to a restaurant or you're going somewhere, or Google Plus review? Is that a generation gap, or?
I believe so. I think I'm kind of in the middle of the two generations. I'm getting onto it. I travel so much that I do rely on those to sort of lead me in the right direction when I'm going
Really?
to places that I've never been. Or
Like
yeah,
like what? Like, is it mostly restaurants or is it doctors too, or?
yeah, any type of business, mostly restaurants and doctors, not so much because I don't really have to deal with that. But yeah, I think it's huge, and I think the hardest part is asking, right? Like if you want to have a script or something, it can be uncomfortable for people to ask for somebody to give them a referral or a review. So I think you kind of need to, make a little script or give them something to say, that way it takes out the awkwardness of it all.
But you know what? That's my belief on that. What you just described was that since the natural selection of a dentist, physician, or lawyer around the world is they only accepted the people that made straight A's. So you got all the library geeks. So when you went to college and you're walking around college and whenever you saw a loser, just someone had a book bag and was in the library, now they're called doctor.
Right.
And all the people who are having fun, fraternities, dating, all that kind of stuff. Like so this scientist, engineer, mathematician gets out of school and he hires a bunch of people that would have worked in the library. And
Right.
I personally think if that you should hire staff that compensates your weakness. Like if like it's great if I'm good in this and I suck in that, I need to hire someone good in that who doesn't need to do what I'm same when you hire an associate dentist. If I love doing ortho and TMJ, but I don't do root canals and implants, I need to get an associate that has common skills. So do you think, I mean, when you get to the point where you have to write a script to your staff to ask for a referral, do you think maybe it's time where you should trade that player out so that someday you can go to the Super Bowl and win the damn game?
Uh, Absolutely. And I think that's a huge thing that's hard for dentists is to be able to realize when to let somebody go. There's a lot of fear for doctors for letting staff members go, whether they're horrible or not. You know what I mean? It's a hard thing for them to do. And like you said, they do come out as scientists, engineers, mathematicians, and they have the burden of running a business, being HR, being accounting, doing everything. So that's all out of their comfort zone as well. And that's being able to let go staff members.
And plus that we're a social pack animal. I mean, we're not like a shark that doesn't have any skill sets to get along with another shark because they don't need anybody else. Snakes and sharks aren't hardwired for that, but dogs, cats, monkeys, and apes, we're hardwired that we want to please other people and get along.
Right.
And so to have an uncomfortable conversation or to do something unpleasing like fire you,
Right.
is just it's against a couple million years of evolution in their brain. Their brain is saying
Yeah.
we just got to get along because the real enemy is the hyenas, lions, and tigers.
Right.
And now I can't ever imagine seeing a hyena in Albuquerque. But one time, Craig and I did so many shots of tequila, I think I saw one. Maybe it was a coyote. But anyway, so patient engagement. What any other things come to mind?
I mean, social media is huge now. Obviously, you're very successful in that. Just since we are towards the generation of Yelp, Google reviews, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff, I think that you need to be involved in that. And the best thing is that it's super easy. One of those young girls on your team would love to take that over and accept that as a responsibility and do that and be very successful with it. And that also gives them added responsibility and a sense of importance.
And that's why I can't legally say this, so I can't say it. But one of the reasons I am so prolific on posting so many stuff is because I'm hoping let me just say it legally. I'm hoping it gives people the ideas of things to put on their page. I mean, because you don't really need to have a lot of thoughts. I mean, all you got to do is go to someone else's page who's crushing it, and I mean, if you just
Absolutely. You just share. How many shares do you get on your posts, right?
yeah, I mean,
You have the content there.
yeah, and I also think that when you pay someone a lot of money to do your social media in another state, you don't get it. I mean, because if your assistant has an iPhone and she walks up to her hygienist on the first day of hygiene month and whips out her video camera and says, "Hey, Stephanie, it's dental hygiene month. Give me 10 seconds. What's your best advice to all of our patients in Albuquerque about dental hygiene month?" And then you say, brush 2 minutes every morning and every night, floss before you go to bed, and you won't lose all your teeth when you're a grandma. And then she can upload that in a second. And and it's their own staff. Yeah. So I every dental office I go into, I'll always find one staff who checks Facebook before she gets out of bed. And before she rolls over and goes to sleep, she looks at it one more time and then plugs it into the charger. I mean, why are you paying someone 5 states away to do it when that girl's working for you?
And I mean, she would love to be able to do that. Gives her an excuse to be on Facebook at work and not get in trouble, right?
Yeah. So let's switch over to implants. How when I got out of school, and Stephanie, this is amazing. Your dad will know this story, but do you realize when I was in dental school from 84 to 87, the oral surgeons placing implants were called butchers, hacks, crazies, nut jobs, and they would do like 50 cases and their patients loved it, and then they'd have like one case go bad and like the local board would take their license away.
Right.
And then when I started placing implants, and when I got my diploma in the International Congress of Implantology, Fellowship of the Mission Institute, we had these implants that were covered with all this white stuff, and then the next thing you know, the white stuff's coming off and showing up in their kneecap, and and all this, But now, 28 years later, I lived long enough to see that all the kinks are worked out, and it's a very predictable restoration. But my question to you is, it started off like when Dr. Brandmark came to America, he would only train oral surgeons.
Right.
Nobody but an oral surgeon could go to the course. And then the periodontists got involved. And now the periodontists are thinking about changing their name from the American Academy of Periodontology to the American Academy of Implantology and Periodontology. But I want to ask you this. You mostly know New Mexico. Would you say that? Or what do you mostly know?
Well, I mostly know New Mexico. I also cover Texas and Arizona and, West Texas and Colorado.
You cover Arizona?
I do.
You mean you've been coming out here and not calling Grandpa Howard?
I just recently picked it up as of January, so.
Okay.
I told you I would call you next time I was out there.
Okay. Is it still mostly being done by oral surgeons and periodontists? What penetration does it have with general dentists? I mean, would you say the implant, what percent would you say are being placed by the specialists? What percent do you see are being placed by general dentists?
I believe it's about 10% of general dentists placing implants now. Now,
10%.
For me, I work majority with general dentists. That's who I work with 99% of the time. So.
And is that because the oral surgeons won't let you in their office because you never had your wisdom teeth pulled?
I have had my wisdom teeth pulled. No, I just see that it's a huge advantage for these general practitioners into their office, into their business, to be able to incorporate implants. Like you've said, what is the percentage of general dentists overseas placing implants?
Yeah, in Korea and Germany, it's 3 out of 4 place one every month. Right.
And I don't know why we're so far behind here, and that's changing. If I have anything to do with it.
Well, now is Chuck Schlesinger the dentist? Is he he's not the founder of OCO? What is he, the president, or what's his title?
He's the chief operating officer.
Chief operating officer. If Arizona's your territory, he ought to do some of his hands-on training courses in my dental office. We could close that thing down on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and do a 1, 2, 3 day. I got a CBCT from CareStream. I could fill that course up just for my buddies that I drink with. We could have an alcoholic implant course all in one day.
Those are the best ones.
Is Craig placing implants?
He is.
He is now?
He is placing implants. Gosh, it's been a year and a half to 2 years since he's been placing. He was one of my first customers when I started with OCO.
He was I was his first customer. Did you know that? You know
No.
how I was his first customer?
Do I want to know?
Probably not. Here's a podcast confession from I'm making an illegal confession to 7,000 dentists right now. I would make my dentures in lab class. I think it was sophomore year, and Craig would just look at it and goes, "Dude, you know that looks horrible." And I'd say, "Well, what should I do?" Then he'd take it. He'd just knock everything off. He'd start from scratch, and in like 10 minutes, he'd knock all the teeth out, put them all back on, festoon everything, and just like, I mean, he looked like Beethoven. And I'm like, wow. So then I'd take it to the instructor, and the instructor would give me an A on it. And then when I walked away, he'd say, "Tell Craig he did a great job." The instructor could actually tell Craig Steichen's work. It was so artistic and his gingiva and all that.
No, he's great. He's a great story too, because I've worked with him with Patterson, and then I moved over, but you know, incorporating implants into his practice has just given him a new light. Like, he's very, very excited and just
you know what the first thing that lit him up like a Christmas tree was his CEREC machine.
Yes.
He's the only guy who, when he bought his CEREC machine, took it home at night and slept with it in bed. I mean, he loves that thing.
Yeah.
And so talk about that. You work for Patterson. They were the sole distributor of Patterson. By the way, now that Dentsply merged with Sirona, do you think Patterson will still have an exclusive on that machine?
I pretty sure they will for the short-term future at least. I'm not sure what the long-term future looks like, as they don't overseas. They sell through Shine and multiple distributors. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. But I'm pretty sure for the next 3 to 5 years, they'll still.
Because that would be an uncomfortable relationship if you're selling them through Shine in like 56 different countries, but then they say, but that little country called America. You know, I mean that'd be weird. I'm sure that's
that's the way it's been, though.
Yeah. So what do you think about what kind of what percent of the dentists you think right now have a CAD cam? Which
probably 10 to 15%, somewhere around there.
About the same ones doing implants.
Yeah, probably a little more than our implants, but I think the implants are definitely catching up, as it's a much smaller investment to get started.
So let me ask you this. If 15% of the dentists are doing same-day crowns with CEREC, and probably you think 10% of the general dentists are placing implants, is that like a Howard and Craig office where the offices that have CEREC are also placing implants, or do you see them where a dentist just, I need a new thing, and 15% went CEREC and then 10% went another way, went implants? What's the overlap?
Right. Well, I see a lot of integration between the two, because the technology with CEREC has come so far with the implant, you know, being able to mill custom abutments and make crown screw retained crowns, you know, whatever the technology, it's there. So the people who are utilizing it to its fullest extent are joining the two, and I have a ton of CEREC doctors who also place our implants.
And what I've also noticed is the ones who get the Sirona's CBCT.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter what CBCT you get. Technically, it doesn't matter. You can export anything on a DICOM file,
Right.
but when it's all integrated together, it's just a lot easier. It's just an easier experience. So it seems like the ones who have the CEREC and the Galileo CBCT, and it's integrated, it's just easier to do, easier to get used to, and those dental offices just get it going.
Fully integrated system. I mean,
I know.
Nice. It makes life a little bit easier.
Well, if you're a tech freak, you know, where you just love that kind of stuff, and they're using all these different parts and pieces, and they just love it, that's great. But if you're not a tech freak, it's probably a lot easier to get a seamless integration. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So why did you go to OCO? What is OCO? That was the used to be the O-ring company, or what was it?
Yeah, the O-ball company, and then it evolved to the O company, and then it evolved to OCO.
So start with the O-ball company. They were the first ones, putting balls and locators under dentures?
Right. Dr. DeLeese patented the first O-ball for overdenture attachment.
What was his name?
That was in the 70s, Dr. David DeLeese.
David DeLeese. I met him.
Yes, you have met him.
That would be an awesome podcast. That would be an awesome podcast. He invented that.
Too, yeah.
He patented that. Can you set that up?
Absolutely.
Because the more things change, the more they stay the same. I still think the simplest deal for a lower denture with low income money, someone who wants a used car or a Chevy, is just to put 2 implants down there with balls and O-ring locators, and grandma goes from this slipping, sliding, miserable thing to really, she literally doubles her pounds per square inch bite. And you're place them in the lower anterior. There's no anatomy down there. It's the hardest bone of the 2 jaws, and the fact that 9 out of 10 dentists can't even do that is really, it's really insane. And you can even use the existing denture. You don't even have to make a new denture.
You can retrofit it. And it's the most life-changing procedure that I've seen in dentistry in my 16 years in the field. I've seen patients cry, just out of pure joy of having a few implants that hold in their dentures. It changes patients' lives, and it's really cool to see, and it's so simple. It's a simple fix.
And it's high profit margins. That
Absolutely.
one procedure would probably be more profit dollars than you made off your hygiene department all week.
Right. If you're doing 4 mini implants with ball attachments on the lower, that's less than $200 for the implants,
You know what would be okay, so we both agree this is one of the most special treatments in dentistry.
Absolutely.
And we both know that David invented this and patented in 1970. And we both know that Dentaltown put up 350 online CE courses that have been viewed over 500,000 times. How come David hasn't done an online CE course on this?
No, when you talked to Chuck about this last time on your podcast, and it's definitely something that we're working on.
And it would give a deeper, meaningful relationship. There's a bunch of implant companies, and it'd be a deeper, meaningful relationship if they met the founder of the company and that he invented this when he was 70. And you kind of feel well, here's what I get mad at dentists. Here's what I get mad at dentists. They're always sitting there saying, well, the other day I was talking to a dentist, and he said he was telling me how he does a denture appointment in 3 days, but then in 3 appointments.
Right.
He says, okay, so I do this in 3 appointments, but then of course you're gonna have to adjust it 25 times. And patients and dentists are always complaining about denture patients come back and adjust. Well, maybe they're coming back in adjusting it 25 times because you nail that baby down with a couple 2 or 4 implants.
It's such unproductive chair time for the doctors and just a pain in the butt. When I assisted, that was it's hard. The ridge.
Technically, wasn't it a pain in the mouth? You said pain in the butt, but isn't that only when they swallow their denture?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to throw David DeLeese under a bus. He's got to get on there and make that. That would be so classic and timeless, and talk about a throwback Thursday. And I can push that out. I can push that course out to 300,000 dentists digitally.
Yeah.
And if we could just get 300,000, if we could just get 1% of 300,000. I don't know what that number is because I only took geometry. I forgot to take trig, but that would be game changers. And I also believe this, and some people don't believe me in this, but a lot of women with dentures, their whole life, they're afraid to smile, they're afraid to laugh, they're always covering their mouth, things like that. And to give her, and it was Dan Fisher of Ultradent. He said, you know what Dan Fisher told me in '87? He said the key to a rocking hot dental office isn't about dental health. It's about mental health. And you're supposed to be doing dentistry to increase their mental health. And if you look at every dental procedure you do and realize that tooth is attached to a human with a brain, and that's why you want to do whitening and tooth colored fillings and nail her denture down with 2 or 4 locators, because forget her damn teeth. I got uncles. Some of my dad's uncles, they're all from Parts, Kansas. They all lost their teeth, and they got their first set of dentures and threw them in a farm field. And they were still morbidly obese. They could eat their way to 300 pounds with 0 teeth over 30, 40 years. And when I was a dentist, newly dentist from '87, I was back there in Parsons, Kansas, asking some of my 80-year-old uncles, Well, do you want me to make you a denture? Hell no, I had a pair of them in 1950. Those were the worst things I ever. So you don't even need teeth for chewing and eating. I mean,
No, you don't. I have an uncle in Oklahoma who I've seen gum a steak like nobody else's business. So
yeah, so yeah, and Oklahoma, Kansas. I mean, my entire pedigree was born in a barn, and none of them uncles need one tooth to eat anything, even corn on the cob or almonds. They can gum it.
no
And
kidding.
so a lot of it, but grandma's not going to go to the buffet and sit there with her grandchildren with no teeth.
My
And we
grandmother wouldn't even let me clean her teeth that were holding her partials and dentures. She would never take them off in front of me. Somebody else had to do it because she didn't want me to see her like that.
and I get that because I never leave the home without my wig on. No one's ever seen me. No, you're the first person that's ever seen me without my wig on. Okay, so why did you pick OCO? Because you told me because you lost all your teeth from doing meth in high school and you had a denture
Absolutely.
and you needed balls and O-rings and that is the most beautiful denture I've ever seen.
Blow out candles like no man's business.
So why did you pick it? There's 275 implant companies. Why did you pick OCO?
You know what? I really like the story of OCO. It's a great company. It's been around long. It's not too corporate. It's a nice private company, and we have so much room to grow. And I just thought it's a great opportunity to get in down here, and help propel this company to where I think it deserves to be. So there's a lot of growth in it. It's a great product. It's a great company, and I just couldn't be happier to be representing it.
That is awesome. And Chuck is a good guy, and so is
He's
David.
great. He is so smart and such a great resource. He's available to all the doctors. And
Was he born in New Mexico, Albuquerque?
no, he's from San Diego.
San Diego, little surfer boy, huh? Surfer boy goes inland. And so how long have you been with them now?
It's been almost 2.5 years.
Okay, so I want you to talk about this. Here's where I want you to switch. So podcasting is a multitasking behavior. The reason they've exploded is because most all my listeners have an hour commute to work. And if they have a half-hour commute, they listen to a half hour to work and a half hour back home. We both agree 9 out of 10 dentists have never placed an implant. And you're talking to about 7,000 dentists right now. So about 6,300 of them have never done an implant. Tell them how they're driving their car right now. Tell them how they can go for, Stephanie, I ain't ever placed an implant. And I don't even know if I'm a good surgeon. I mean, how do I go from, I've never placed an implant. How can I get a hold of Stephanie and OCO and a year from now be like Craig Steichen and placing an implant?
Right. Well, it's education, and our company is focused around education. We have CE courses every month all around the United States that are hands-on. We have cadaver courses. Chuck also does a great thing is he mentors doctors. So he'll actually go to your office on a day of surgery, see 4 or 5 or 6 patients, and be there mentoring you. So, I mean, our company is education focused, right? There's no way you can place an implant without being properly educated. And there's tons of ways to be educated about implants on Dental Town. There's a lot of dental implant. I know August has some great courses on there. So start learning, give me a call. I'll hook you up in your area with some CE courses.
How often do you get out to Phoenix?
I get out there maybe once a month, maybe every other month.
Well, you tell Chuck, let's do that in my office. I can name so many of my friends who have never placed one, and I'll get all my friends that have that know they should and never have, and we should do this in Phoenix.
Absolutely, yeah. The education is so huge because the biggest barrier for general dentists is this fear. You know what I mean? That's been instilled in them since dental school. And the more that they learn about implants and we can sort of disseminate those fears one at a time, really will give the doctor confidence to know that they do have the skill set to be able to place straightforward implants.
So I want to go back to your days of a hygienist because you
Yeah.
were a hygienist for 6 or 7 years, and you've seen a lot of hygiene departments. What advice would you tell Doc listening to you right now about how they could have a better relationship with their hygienist and a better hygiene department?
Well,
And also somebody that they don't even, how would they even know if they have a good hygiene department or not? Is there any barometers or any statistics you could tell them what are red flags to look for? Production,
well,
you know?
I mean, I think we all know that what is it about 60%, you know what I mean, of the population have some form of periodontal disease. Going through your reports and looking at, you know, the periodontal maintenance codes and seeing what percentage of your practice is that, you know, if it's 10, 15%, you know there's a big gap and something's going on in your hygiene department that you need to reevaluate. And I think hygienists and dentists need to be partners more so than, you know, that control over one or the other. You know what I mean? They're a team. The hygienist can make or break you because, like I said earlier, the minute you walk out of the room, they look at the hygienist. Sally, what should I do? Is he telling me the truth? You know, what do you think? What do you know about implants? And if they're not on board and they don't share your vision with you, they can destroy your office.
Well, it's again, they're hardwired at birth. I mean, the reason I mean, we're all hardwired as a social animal to obey the 400-pound gorilla. And the
Right.
400-pound gorilla is hardwired to control and make everyone else submissive. That's why you see in every organization, take religion, you have the Pope, the cardinals, the bishops, the priest, the altar boy. Take the military, you got the general, and it just goes down the line. And so a lot of success is being counterintuitive to your hardwiring.
Right.
And you're not, I know you're hardwired as a 400-pound gorilla, but the successful people undo all that and delegate out
And
and
that's
make a
in anything.
flat organization. I have told everybody and nobody believes it, but I've been in business 28 years and I got a lot of these people from day one, and we run a democracy. And just because I own the joint, if we have 7 people vote on it and I vote we're going left and 5 other people vote we're going right, we're going right. And I get vetoed about 95% of the time. And I'm not even kidding.
Right. I don't doubt that.
So when I get vetoed, I'm thinking, okay, either I'm wrong or I need to go back and get more data or maybe more education or whatever. And if I can't convince them, I'm not going to bully it through because we've been very successful. And I think the best dentists are humble. They're humble to their patients. They're humble to their staff. They're humble to their suppliers. That was another thing I did with my reps. I didn't want any rep coming in there and standing at the counter and sitting in my waiting room. I told every rep when they ever came in here, you ever come back, make a damn appointment. You know what I mean? Just make an appointment. I want to see you like I would any patient. And I would treat them as an emergency patient. That's what we do. We throw them in the emergency room.
Yeah.
Someone just called in our office because I want to be respectful because the 28 years that they've all helped. When you treat them like gold, they all help you.
Right, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, with all of the online ordering and sort of dentists going away from utilizing their reps and distributors, I mean, we have so many resources for you guys and ways to be able to help and grow your businesses and practices beyond just selling you something. And I completely think we're underutilized, but I do also agree that, you know, I don't agree with just walking into an office because your time is extremely valuable. And so appointments.
Well, the one thing, we were talking about what successful people do, they better patient engagement, social media, reduce staff turnover, expanded procedures for a dental home, etc. I can absolutely tell you that all the dentists I know who got an implant program go in their office, and you say, well, why do you use that system? Like True Agro, why do you use No BioCare? Oh, I love the rep. Absolutely. They all have a human. And the ones that are trying to save a nickel by buying them online from, Russia or Israel or whatever, because they got it 10 cents cheaper, they got it cheaper, but they didn't get it going.
Right.
And we're social animals. We're monkeys without tails, and monkeys need other monkeys to figure out how to peel open the banana. And if no one, and if you're standing there all by yourself, you may be looking at that banana for 20 years. So to get it going on, you need human relationships.
Well, yeah, that's the biggest factor that you should look at when deciding what to go with is what's the support? Who's the human that's going to be helping you? Are they valuable? Will they be there for you when you need them? You know, those There's
You know,
so many implant companies that you have to look at the value of the people and the service.
yeah, and some of these big supplier reps asked me like I would change because I started with Patterson, then I went to Shine, then I went to Benco, then I went back to Shine, and they're asking, well, why did you switch that? Why do you think I changed?
Because the rep.
Because the rep was changing.
Yeah.
It's like Jan has a relationship with Valerie. Nobody cares who Valerie works for.
Right.
That's Jan's relationship buddy, problem solver. That's her girl.
Takes care of business. That's
Yeah. And Jan could care less who's backfilling the order. You know what I mean? So I always tell other companies, well, if you want my business, what I do is I get Val, because Val's got Jan, and
right.
that's at the end of the day, it's all relationship driven with your patients, with your staff,
right.
with your kids. I mean, I still think one of the greatest feelings of being blessed that I know. I mean, the reason I pinch myself every day is because I get to talk to all 4 of my boys every day, and there's nothing that means more to me than that. And then your staff would be next, not your patients.
Right.
And if you're crushing it, if you're killing it with your 4 boys, and then you're going in there and you're connecting with your team, the patients all take care of themselves. But when you're not connecting at home in your family, and you go into work and you're not connecting with your staff, and then you want to know why none of your patients come back, and you don't have a hygienist or whatever. I mean, it's all the foundation. I want to go back to hygiene. So you said 10% have no hygienist. I'm trying to let this dentist.
From my experiences.
Yeah. From what you see.
The markets that I've.
Yeah. What percent would have 1? What percent would have 2? What percent would have 3? And the question I'm going for is, what do you think is the ideal dentist to hygiene ratio?
I think at least 2 hygienists per dentist. And, it kind of depends on your active patient base. But I think with 2 full-time hygienists, I think that's the ticket per dentist.
And you know what's really exciting, going back to 2008, is when America has lost 50 million manufacturing jobs ever since Ronald Reagan said free trade, and then so immediately Asian governments started subsidizing television manufacturers so they could sell them at a loss till we closed all of ours down. And there's been, with 50 million lost manufacturing jobs from free trade, there's a bunch of men pouring into healthcare, because healthcare is 17 cents of every dollar of our GDP. And I'm starting to see a lot of male hygienists, male dental assistants, male office managers. We always talk about how the dental school class has gone from all men to half women. I'm starting to see the labor force in dentistry. And when you go into the hospital, I had a kidney stone a couple months ago. That's about as nice as getting ran over by a car. And that place was a third males.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I do work a lot in the Hygiene Association, and you slowly seeing the male population growing as far as hygienists and assistants. And I love that because, I don't know, I was raised with boys, so being in an office with all females can be a little crazy. So I think it's a nice, healthy mix to have some more males other than maybe just one dentist in there.
Absolutely, especially since half your patients are men, half are women. A mix would be better. So would you call yourself a tomboy or a girly girl?
I'm more of a tomboy. I have 2 older brothers. I'm barely learning about girls through my daughters, and they really, really scare me to death. So
that's why I fear. I only have 1 grandchild, and it's little Taylor. She's 3. She's a girl, and all she's got is her dad, her 3 uncles, and grandpa. And
good for her, though.
She hasn't done one girly thing in the first 3 years, and we're like scratching her head, like, should we like buy her a Barbie doll or a pink truck?
It's less expensive that way.
she probably. I wonder if she even knows she's a girl. She probably thinks she's a boy. So I want to tell you something about Hygiene Town. Hygiene Town has like 58,000 registered hygienists on there, and we just decided to have a yearly issue. So once a year, we're going to take the greatest hits out of Hygiene Town and mail a Hygiene Town physical magazine to, I think, like 80,000 hygienists. But man, you're the most amazing hygienist that I know, and I wish you'd be a part of that issue, or email my team and said, hey, the bald one said you're going to do a yearly magazine. I'd love to have a blog or an editorial or something from you in there
I
because
would love to do that.
I mean, you've done it all. Dad's a dentist, dental assistant, dental hygienist, Patterson, implants, OCO Biomedical dental implants. You're an amazing woman. It's an honor for me to call you a friend. And I don't know who admires you more, me or Craig Steichen. Craig and I should start the mutual Stephanie Dominguez and Admiration Club. Thanks for spending an hour with me. Tell David DeLeese that Howard is going to drive out there to Albuquerque and pull out all of his hair if the guy who started this revolution doesn't make me an overdenture course. That would service so many.
Any excuse to get you out here again, we'll use, okay?
Well, you already got an excuse. If you ever want to get me to Albuquerque, all you have to do is have Craig text me.
Steichen, we're waiting.
Yeah, all you got to do is get Steichen because the most fun we ever had. We've been kicked out of Cabo 4 times.
I can see that.
Four times we've gone deep sea fishing, and the manager of the resorts, they were glad to see us leave. I mean, we have so much fun. Stike and I have this rare behavior where we love deep sea fishing. We'll get up at like 4:00 in the morning and catch fish until our arms are so tired we can't drag them in, and then they come back and they clean them all and everything. But there's all kinds of poor people by the docks wanting to know us, and so we just give it all to them, and then we go do tequila shots till 3 a.m. and then get up at 4 and fish the next day. And we do that till our liver shuts down. But yeah, you ever want me out there, just have Craig call me. And if you ever want to do a hands-on course, I'm dead serious. I mean, I could fill that course up.
And I promise I've been working on that small diameter mini implant denture retention course for Dental Town.
Yeah, that would be a great service. All right, Stephanie, thank you for all that you do for dentistry.
You're welcome. Thank you, Howard. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.